What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Eric's House. Today I'm going to review Hoosiers, a classic sports movie that most everybody has heard of, a movie that I've never really seen in its entirety. I think I've seen bits and pieces of it back in the 80s when I was just a kid, but I don't remember anything. And I came across this film at the thrift store for like $1, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to grab this movie. Let's check it out because I feel like a good sports movie. I've seen so many. I love sports movies. And this is a classic. How bad can it be? It's from the same director and writer that brought us Rudy. And I absolutely love Rudy. And I love so many sports movies, even sports movies that aren't considered that great. I like, and I know sometimes these days, a lot of these movies are, I guess what you would say, very formulaic, pretty predictable, sometimes old coach, who misbehaves, has to take on a high school team, and then he changes his ways, and the team finds unity, and there's a story, there's an arc, and okay, it's nothing special, but usually I find a lot of entertainment in these kind of movies. And I didn't really know what this was about. It's about a high school team in Indiana that this coach takes over, played by, of course, the great Gene Hackman. But I didn't know anything else. And honestly, after watching this movie, well, I found it to be not that great, honestly. Maybe that's because it was one of the first of these kind of movies. Maybe this has kind of set the stage for better films like Rudy and so on. And maybe, I don't know, you have, remember the Titans, you have so many great sports movies, even Major League, which takes a more comic spin, a little more rated R style, but still really good. Maybe this is one of the early sports films before the formula really got cemented and everyone was doing it. I don't know. I can just tell you, I'm watching this film and I'm just making my way through it and just thinking, man, this is Hoosiers? Don't get it twisted. I mean, it's not that bad. I'll start with some positives. Obviously, right off the bat, Gene Hackman is a fantastic actor and he does really well, and he definitely sells the role as a guy who once coached college. Something happened. He had to leave basketball for a number of years, and now he's back coaching high school in some random town in Indiana. He's a tough coach. He's kind of my way or the highway type coach, and he definitely sells it, and he definitely does a fantastic job, as does pretty much the entire cast. I thought the acting was really good. I thought that the scenery, the costume designs, and all that was really well done. Looked like early 50s. I think it's 1951. Everyone definitely looks like it's 1951, talks like it's 1951. Not that I was around back then, but I believed that this was 1951 watching the movie. The basketball scenes were pretty well done. As far as that goes, I thought that it looked pretty genuine and looked like high school basketball. Very well shot. And, it was entertaining enough. I'm watching it to see what's going to happen, how the team's going to do. And, it wasn't like I hate myself watching this. It wasn't like, oh, this is just trash. I wouldn't say that at all. It's fine. But I find it as just another one of these sports movies, but probably on the mid to lower tier as far as them. I mean, this wouldn't make a top 10 sports movie for me, no way. And why is that? As we get into the negatives, well, I kind of have to recap the movie, and so there may be some minor spoilers here. I'm not really going to try to avoid it. I'm sure you've seen this movie. It's been out for, 30, 40 years at this point in time. I won't just give away who wins the big game or anything like that, but these type of movies usually are pretty predictable. This one, maybe not so much. At the beginning of this film, Gene Hackman's character named Norman Dale is just driving along. It's a nice opening, and we get the scenery and everything, and he shows up at the high school. He's met with a little bit of hostility. There's a woman there, and she's very rude to him, and kind of everybody's not super nice to him except the main guy that hired him. Now, their original coach had passed away, a very beloved coach who had done it for years, and they're kind of set in their ways in this small town where basketball is kind of everything here in this town. It's a big, big deal. So when the new coach shows up, not everybody's treating him very nicely, and they're kind of letting him know, hey, we already have our ways of doing things, so you might just want to stick to it. But of course, Gene Hackman's character has something else in mind. He's going to do what he does. And actually, this sounds awesome so far. And he takes over the team. He's tough. There's one kid, a big part of the story is this one kid who is the best basketball player in the area, possibly a future professional, by the name of Jimmy. But he doesn't want to play anymore. He doesn't want to play under any other coach besides the one who just passed away. So he's not playing. He still will shoot around. He will still practice and stuff, but he's not going to actually play. And the woman that Norman met, Gene Hackman's character, lets him know, hey, do not try to get Jimmy on the team. Jimmy doesn't want to play. don't try to get him. And Gene Hackman's like, okay, wasn't planning on it. You know, if he doesn't want to play, he's not playing. I got my team, and that's my team. He only has one quick interaction with Jimmy and talks to him a little bit, and while Jimmy's shooting around, and says, you know, I don't care if you play or not. I kind of like that. I was kind of feeling it. I was like, dude, I like this guy. Like, hey, you don't want to play, don't play. I'm not going to try to, recruit you. I'm not going to try to beg you. I got my team. Let's freaking go. So I thought the movie set the stage nicely, and then as expected, things aren't going great at the beginning. He's trying to implement his ways. He's trying to get the team to pass more. He even implements a rule like you got to pass at least 4 times before you can shoot, which, I think is kind of dumb because, you never know when you're going to get your best shot, but maybe he's just trying to enforce, hey, pass, pass, pass. Okay, whatever, it's all good, but it's not working out too well in the games. One player violates that rule. He benches him. And then when it ends up, there's only 4 on the court, and that guy needs to re-enter the game, Gene Hackman says, nope, sit down. Sit down. I got my 4 out there. Referee's like, oh, you need another guy. That's my team. And of course now the townsfolk are like, what the hell? They're pissed. They lose the game, and things are going downhill early on. Now at this point in time, I'm really enjoying the film, so I thought it started out nicely. And obviously Norman's style of play and his style of coaching is right. It's going to work out. Things are going to start getting better. They're going to start passing. All this stuff is going to work out, right? I'm thinking. Instead, they decide they're going to have a vote to vote him out as coach. And so they get together, the town, and they're going to have this vote to kick him out. But Jimmy shows up. Jimmy says, you know what? Actually, I'm going to play. So everyone's excited. Only on the condition that this new coach stays. New coach stays, I stay. New coach goes, I go. Interesting. And then Jimmy joins the team, of course, so they decide not to vote the coach out at that point in time. They actually did vote him out. They said, let's do a re-vote, keep him there. And now Jimmy joins the team, and we never hear about the passing again. We never hear about, pass 4 times or anything like that. Jimmy just takes over, and Jimmy's like LeBron or Michael Jordan. When he's on a team, guess what? You're winning championships. You're going to be really good. You're going to be very tough to beat. And now they start winning games, and Jimmy's just hitting shots. It could be argued like, this coach didn't do anything. This coach stinks. This coach came along. We were terrible. He was pissing everyone off. He was mean to the players. And now Jimmy's back on the team, and Jimmy's winning games for us. I mean, it could be argued that Gene Hackman's character didn't do anything. And in fact, he doesn't show a lot of change or progression throughout the movie. In other words, no character development, no arc for him. There's not much of an arc for Jimmy. He just joins the team and tears it up the rest of the season. We don't really get to know him. In fact, we don't really get to know any of the players on the team. They may have their little personalities, but you don't really learn anything, and there isn't any real change. One guy gets kicked off the team early. Actually, 2 guys, they don't get kicked off, but they're told to leave practice because they're being rude on the first practice. They're being rude to the coach. So they both walk out. One of them is never seen again. Gone. I guess he just quit the team. The other one comes back the next practice with his dad, and the dad is able to talk to the coach and convince him to let him back on the team. But I don't really get to know any of the players, and I certainly don't see the coach having much of an evolution throughout the movie. There is that other woman, and I'm just going to get this out the way, this negative out the way. This other woman who works at the school starts to soften up on him a little bit. She actually did some digging and found out that he had hit students at the college where he coached. That doesn't make me like this guy too much, by the way. I'm like, oh my God. So he used to hit players, and that's why he was let go, and that's the secret. That's why he has to coach here in the middle of nowhere. And she originally plans to expose him for that, changes her mind because he's starting to soften up on her a little bit, and he never does try to recruit Jimmy. That's the big thing that he does that makes her think, okay, maybe this guy's not so bad just because he doesn't try to get Jimmy on the team. Okay? Of course, he eventually got Jimmy on the team anyway. Maybe he figured by not wanting Jimmy would convince Jimmy to want to be on the team because he's feeling like not wanted, and that makes him want to be on the team. I don't know. But what I'm getting at is that there wasn't any chemistry between these two, between this woman who's like, 30, 32, and then Gene Hackman looks like he's about 60. I never saw any kind of romantic chemistry, or I didn't have any signs that was brewing. But then one scene, they're walking outside together, and they start locking lips. And I'm like, whoa! Did not see that coming. I guess every movie at this point in time in the 80s had to have a romantic storyline somewhere in there, but I didn't feel like this was built up very well at all. I did not feel any chemistry. I did not like this kiss scene. This was awkward. And there's one other main plot point that involves Dennis Hopper, who plays one of the kids' dad. Okay, so he's the dad of one of the kids on the team. He knows a lot about basketball. He's a smart guy. He gives some good tips to Gene Hackman's character, but he's also a drunk. He is drunk all the time, right? He has an alcohol problem. He's an alcoholic. But Norman decides to invite him to be the assistant coach, trying to help him out, saying, hey, why don't you be the assistant coach? But there's a big caveat here. You cannot drink. You show up drunk, I even smell any alcohol on you at all, you're gone. You're out. And he accepts the job, and he shows up shaven, looking good, but he's very nervous. And I kind of enjoyed watching this because he's so nervous. Like he has it in him. He has the knowledge to be a good assistant coach, but he's just out of his comfort zone, being there, being dressed up, being shaven, being sober. He's out of his comfort zone, and he's nervous, and he's having trouble talking, and he's having trouble coaching. Gene Hackman tries to help him in certain ways come out of his shell and become a great assistant coach, including getting himself ejected so that this guy has to take over as the head coach. But I kind of saw the writing on the wall when he was threatened, like if he shows up drunk, he's gone. I'm like, okay, he's probably going to show up drunk. He showed up drunk, an embarrassing scene. He shows up drunk, and he's not the assistant coach anymore. And now he's watching from like he has to go into a rehab or something, and it's like, okay, I don't get the whole point of that. There wasn't a really great story there. I mean, he kind of reconnected with his son a little bit, but the son really is embarrassed by his dad. And that drunk scene when he showed up at the court, hey, look at that certainly had to be embarrassing as well. But the team continued to, win games. The games, like I said, were well shot. They were kind of exciting. Close games, close matchups, trying to catch up, everything like that. The basketball was not bad. But again, you didn't really get to know any individual characters. There's one basketball player, one guy on the team who's like super religious, and he'll always bow down and he'll pray before every game. And it's time to start the game, and he just won't get up. He's still kneeling. It's like, come on, get up, dude. Game time. Let's go. And then another player's like, yeah, he finishes when he finishes. You just have to wait. So I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on there. But like I said, there's little quirks each player might have, but you don't really get to know them, and certainly there's no evolution or character arcs in this movie to be found, I don't think. And I'm not saying every movie has to have character arcs or character development, but typically that's a good idea. And for a sports movie like this, that's kind of usually a key element. That's the key element that makes these movies work. This one, I didn't feel like it had it very well. I mean, maybe a little bit with Norman, but not much. He's kind of a jerk when he gets there, and I mean, kind of. I kind of like him in some ways, but in some ways he's a tough coach. He's kind of a jerk, and he kind of stays that way. My way or the highway type. Then Jimmy joins the team, and then the team just starts winning from there on out. So I never feel like his coaching got through to them. I never felt like his style of play turned out to be right. And the movie never enforces that. It never says, yeah, now they're passing. Now look what they're doing. Now they're playing as a unit. No, Jimmy just joined the team and took this team to the big games. And, the local championship and then, district and so on and so forth, state. And, I won't spoil who wins or loses, but obviously they win a lot of games after they get Jimmy. And the coach, he's kind of yelling from the sidelines, and the story just kind of, after this 4 pass, and, I got to pass 4 times before you shoot, after that whole deal, and then Jimmy joins the team. Now it's more focused on his romance, his terrible romance with this woman, as well as him hiring the coach, who's an alcoholic, to be the assistant coach, and kind of following that a little bit. Dennis Hopper does a really good job. I mean, I'll say that, but I mean, these are great actors. Not surprisingly, that they did a great job, but overall, as a full package, I finished the movie and I'm just like, okay, that was awkward. That wasn't even that good. The scenes, they don't really flow scene to scene, and this movie has a lot of those cliche moments, but they're not ever done well. Kind of like I feel like this movie created some of these cliche moments that were done better in subsequent movies, maybe like a pregame speech or whatever, but there was no really good speeches that made me like, yeah, Like, he gave a speech that wasn't anything special, and then they had this whole number. One of the players. Another player. This whole thing. Hey, let's go! They had that, and it was so, like, cliche. It was, like, so formulaic. I was like, oh my God, it seemed like a SNL skit or something. It was so, but maybe that was the first movie to do it. I'm not sure. Maybe this movie set the stage, like I said, for other movies to do these things, but do them better. Because I know, at least I feel, that Rudy is way better than this movie. And I feel like most sports movies I've seen are, including Pistol Pete that I reviewed about a month or two ago, way better than this movie. I really expected it to be good. I expected this to be amazing. And it was watchable enough, but at the end of the day, it's like, see it if you're bored. I mean, it'll kill some time for you. It's not that bad, but, and maybe you'll love it. Maybe you'll love it more than I do, but that's where I'm at with it. See it if you're bored. That's the best I can say for Hoosiers. Like, just that romance in this movie, when that threw me hard. I thought this girl was going to slap him when he went in to kiss her. Like, what are you doing? Oh my God. That's what I thought. It felt like was going to happen. But she had to kiss him back, and it felt totally awkward. Like, the actress was like, oh God, are we doing this now? Okay, here we go. Love Gene Hackman. Love his movies. Amazing actor. Going to be a hot take, but it's a take anyway. Y'all have a wonderful day. Let me know your thoughts down below if you've seen Hoosiers. And we'll talk to you in the next one.